Okay, so this is Nathalie again. I realize quite a lot of information that we're giving you, so I hope you're still in good shape and you're not too hungry, especially the ones that are in Athens or in parts of Europe where it's past lunchtime. But nevertheless, we think we would like to remind you of some tips and a bit on remind you of the process for applying successfully, and there are still some information with you on this aspect, and I will be talking with my colleague Garcia. What we want to give you as information is a bit more on the call for proposals, the criteria, how you can best use the work program and proposal templates, where to find information, and we will conclude with a call for expertise. But just to remind you, we are running a little bit out of time, but just to remind you that this is the principle of calls for proposal and selection. I mean, it's based on an equal treatment of all proposers. It's a competitive and transparent process, and the evaluation process is the same for everybody. The criteria are announced in the work program. The confidential process, and we identify conflict of interest, so there's no conflict of interest in the process. We are helped with independent experts for the selection and evaluation of proposals. So let's say this is just a reminder of what the evaluation process is. It is managed and prepared. There are several steps, as I said, in the evaluation process: the admissibility, eligibility conditions, the selection criteria. This is more to the financial and operational capacity, so I will not go into details on this aspect. And then the award criteria, which are the ones that are assessed by external experts. Eligible country, you've seen this information before, but for most actions that we have presented to the eligibility rules is 3 participants from 3 different countries, and you can see below that participants need to be from EU or from associated countries. You have the list below. There are a few exceptions that have been mentioned, so I suggest really you read the call for proposal, the topics very carefully, because there may be specific eligibility rules in some cases. Beyond this rule, you can also participate with a large list of countries, and the evaluation experts will need to I mean, it needs to be essential to have these countries participating. And as my colleague Gordon said, this is really opening for a wide. I mean, this is the largest innovation and research project. The stability conditions, to come back. It may be simple like this, and it maybe seems like a no-brainer, but believe us, every year we have problems with this simple admissibility condition. There's an electronic submission system. You can only submit via this system. So, and there's something that is special is that there is a page limit with the proposal. So and the excess number of pages will be disregarded. So it will be, in fact, we've learned it will be watermarked. We can't even read what you have written beyond the page limit. So very important this year. Please respect the page limit. Other simple aspects that the proposal should be on time, readable, accessible, printable, and complete. So you think of that because there's a lot of information to gather with a proposal, and I want to stress the on-time one because every year we have proposers waiting for the last minute to submit proposals, and they do not click on time the submission button, and it's a pity because it's a way to lose good quality proposals. Sometimes it takes so much time to prepare and gather all the documents, so it's a bit of it's a shame when you just fail because of not submitting on time. So a small reminder on this basic admissibility conditions. And then the evaluation criteria, as I explained earlier, they're the same for all types of actions. There are now 3 criteria: excellence, impact, and efficiency of implementation. So the criteria are the same for all actions, but sometimes they have a special meaning linked to the type of action we are dealing with. And in the next slides that we'll have access to, it's described in more details what are the excellence, impact, and quality and efficiency of implementation. I will quickly on the next slide on the scoring, but each criterion will be scored from 0 to 5. There's a threshold for each individual criteria, which is 3, and the threshold for a proposal is 10. Specific rules for innovation actions, but and I think the impact will be given an increased weight. But this is explained in the rule. I want to go quickly on this aspect. To go into more details on the evaluation criteria, you will see that, well, for excellence, it's key and pertinence of the objective, soundness of the proposal, if you like, and there is this act of soundness and ambition and credibility for this excellence criterion. Then impact, it's very important that you have seen that for most actions, expected impacts are listed in the work program. So they are indicative impacts for most actions, but it's very important that your proposal estimates well the impact, because it would demonstrate the effectiveness of the proposed measures. It's important that this is really linked to the project and it should reflect what the project is about. So I will let you read this in more details, because here, of course, the impact will be different if we're talking about a research project, pure research, or if you're talking about coordinated and support action activities with a wide dissemination aspect. Finally, quality and efficiency of implementation. This is really about coherence and effectiveness of the work plan. We will also look into the resource. Are the resources well allocated to the proposal? The participants in the consortium complementary? Management structures and procedure, are they well planned? So this is really part of this last evaluation criteria. Now some work program and proposal tips. I'll pass the floor to my colleague Pao. Thank you.
Well, again, we are nearing the end now, so it's not much at the moment. Right. In terms of tips, we wanted to start by highlighting the importance of the work program. This is by far the single most important document for the whole of the call. To start with, because it sets out what are the challenges. So it sets out what you can and you cannot do. It gives specific and specific conditions for some areas. So, for example, in areas where only one country can, or only from one country can apply, this is highlighted in the work program. This is the case, for example, for EE4, construction skills, or for EE20, project development assistance. All these special conditions are in the work program. The program also defines, for example, what is a demonstration project, what eligible cost, what are the calendars, what are the deadlines, specific deadlines with day and time, what are the submission protocols, and what template you should use. So just make sure that you read carefully the work program. You also check the annexes, and also if you are submitting something specific to one of the challenges, make sure that you read all the information in the challenge. This is also very important because our capacity to actually provide direct feedback on the challenges is very limited this year. While before we were able to provide you with pre-proposed texts, we cannot do this anymore. We can still answer specific questions on the challenge or on the definition of some words, but we cannot tell you if your proposal responds to the challenge or not. That's up to you. Read the work program carefully, read the challenges very carefully. There is a lot of information there for you to read and digest. Other tips. Some of these may sound very basic, very obvious, but nevertheless we like to remind it because every year we encounter situations where somebody has a good idea, but because of these small things, the project or the proposal, cannot reach the project stage. So in terms of excellence, you should be clear, measurable, realistic, and doable. And also, remember very clear what your objectives are. What is it that you want to do? If you meet a proposal, you will have been working with it for 2 or 3 months. But please remember that we don't know what it is about. The experts don't know what it is about. So to be able to evaluate it, it has to be clear to us, not to you. It sounds very basic, but in cases we found this situation that our proposal is not clear for us what it is about, or is not clear to the expert, which is even more important. Also, please remember that the objectives have to be consistent with the impacts. So if you have about refurbishment of buildings, your impact should be, your proposal is about refurbishment of buildings, your impact should be consistent with this. In terms of impact, be specific and provide only information that applies to the proposal and its objectives. This is important. Use quantified indicators and targets. Be specific. So talking about, for example, renovation of buildings, how many buildings are you targeting? What kind of buildings are you targeting? And what are the energy labels of these buildings? So be specific, quantify your indicators, define them, and give us clear targets. You have to be, but also remember that you have to be reasonable. If you set a proposal that indicates that it's going to successfully renovate 50% of the European building stock, we're going to believe that. For example, if you tell us that something that you're developing is going to reduce of the energy consumption of a building, most likely we are not going to believe that. So be reasonable. This is very basic, but you will be surprised the number of proposals that do not get that point right. And one aspect to highlight is in each one of the challenges, you have a likely impact or what we would expect from these kind of proposals. So for example, for EE1, development of prefabricated modules, you have quite a list of the things that you should be taking into consideration in terms of the quality of the solution and things like that. For EE5, which is organizational measures for refurbishment of buildings, we have a very specific impact, which is that any proposal submitted under this challenge should achieve 2 gigawatt-hours of energy savings per year. One highlight here is we are talking about primary energy. Unless we indicate it anywhere, we are always talking about primary energy. This is not the energy consumption that you really need in building. We're talking about the primary energy that you get at the level of generation. So we're not talking about the meter in a house. We're talking in a way about meter reading at the electric generation station. In terms of the work plan, again, here you have to make it very clear to us what is it that you're going to be doing. It has to be in line with your objectives. Of the resources to be allocated in each work package. So if you're going to, for example, organize a conference, or if you're going to do some demonstration activities, please specify the costs that are going to be spent in that area. This can be indicative. It doesn't need to be right to the last euro. Also include information about how are you going to monitor the progress of your proposal. So if not just you're going to monitor the impact of a proposal, but also how are you going to monitor where a proposal is working well or not. indicates this to see if, for example, if conferences are not working out and is not the method to achieve examination objectives, maybe you have to rethink that. So objectives include intermediate milestones for you to check at this point. This gives a lot of weight, a lot of coherence to our proposal. Finally, the number of work packages should be proportionate. Don't include 20 work packages. That's not very workable, but also don't limit it to just 2 or 3. It has to be something reasonable. And we advise you to include a specific work package for management activities. And this depends on the proposal, but in many cases it's advisable to introduce a separate communication and dissemination activities. This is very specific to each one of the proposals, but for most of them it can work that way. In any case, make sure that you give visibility to these dissemination and exploitation activities. Now, where to find information? That has already been presented by Gordon, but I would like to highlight it. What can you find in each one of these documents? So, for example, in the work program, you can find the topics and the challenges. In the general annexes, you can find which countries are eligible, what are the eligibility criteria, what are the types of actions, evaluation criteria, etc. In the participations, you have the regulation rules, the overarching rules. How is the evaluation going to work? Proposal submission and evaluation manual. You have the states. You have how the processes are going to work. What is the role of the experts? How, if to complain, how can you do it? And especially, you also find a lot of information in terms of tips inside of the template. If you want any more information, we've included here direct links to most of the relevant areas. So not just the work program, but the annex, the rules for participation, the legal basis, and everything else. Before we close this, we finish this presentation and we give the turn to questions and answers. So we'd like to remind you that you have the possibility of working as an expert. There the link if you want to register as an expert. Now, who can be an expert? Basic expert, you can think about it in terms of if you were submitting a proposal, what kind of expert you would like to evaluate it. So if it's a proposal, you would probably want researchers to look at it, but also some professionals in the field. So basically, anybody that has an interest in the building sector to register as an expert, so we have a good pool of people to choose from and get the right ones. Who cannot be an expert? The only limiting aspect is those people that have a direct conflict of interest. This is that if you're working for a company that is submitting a proposal under the efficiency challenge in buildings, you cannot participate in the evaluations for the energy efficiency challenge because of direct conflict of interest. In cases where there is a less direct conflict of interest, then we can study. But in any case, don't do that because you have a direct conflict of interest with us. You are eligible to evaluate proposals in other areas. So in case, I would urge you to register in the experts. So this is basically the end of our presentations. Thank you much for staying with us for so long, and we will open the turn for questions and answers. So Alexander, I'll give back the control.